Thank you, Jane. Good evening and welcome to Look North. Our top story tonight. A hospital says sorry for taking 6 months to diagnose a serious injury a woman suffered while giving birth.
I feel hurt and let down that I wasn't listened to. I think things could have been prevented.
We'll hear from the Birth Trauma Association about what improvements need to be made. Also tonight, relatives start a campaign to stop potential care home closures in North Derbyshire. Are you Team Believer or Team Skeptic? We catch up with ghost hunter Danny Robbins as he takes his show to the stage. Running for Rob, hundreds of people will pay tribute to the Leeds Rhinos legend at parkruns across the region this weekend.
And it's been a pleasant enough day, but it's still feeling cool out there. Will there be any improvement over the weekend? I'll be back at the end of the programme with a full forecast.
Hello and thank you for joining us this Friday evening. A woman who suffered a severe birthing injury at Pinderfields Hospital in Wakefield has described the turmoil caused by a 6-month diagnosis delay. Ashley Roper suffered a buttonhole tear of her perineum while giving birth to her son Albie. In total, she needed 7 operations to repair the damage. The Mid Yorkshire Hospital Trust has apologised, saying aspects of her care should have been better. Our health correspondent Jamie Coulson reports.
We could do our chores or we could go to space. The last 6 years have been the worst 6 years of my life when they should have been the best 6 years of my life. I've obviously suffered massively, physically and mentally.
When Ashley Roper gave birth to her son Albie at Pinderfields Hospital in 2017, she suffered a buttonhole tear to her perineum. She had surgery and went home the next day, but 4 days later had to be readmitted with continuing symptoms, including incontinence. At this point, doctors should have identified a gap that had developed in her perineum, but instead sent her home with advice to do pelvic floor exercises and physiotherapy. It was a further 6 months before she was properly diagnosed.
I feel hurt and let down that I wasn't listened to. I think things could have been prevented if I had have been listened to in the first place.
In total, Ashley needed 7 operations over a 5-year period to correct her problems, including having a stoma fitted and reversed. Following legal action, the Trust admitted a breach of duty relating to the delay in diagnosis.
Ashley was raising her concerns. She knows her own body best, and she was told that was normal. And as a new mum with a new baby, that's a very new emotional time for anybody, and when you've got these distressing symptoms and to be told that they're normal, it adds to that distress.
Last year, an audit revealed that 52 women who suffered 3rd or 4th degree perineal tears between 2020 and 2022 at Pinderfields Hospital did not get appropriate aftercare. The Trust apologised to the women and has offered follow-up appointments, saying they are dedicated to providing the best possible care. The Trust has told us they are sorry that Ashley experienced complications following the birth of her son, and they regret that aspects of her care should have been better. They say they remain committed to learning from any shortcomings to improve services.
Push and push if you think there's something wrong. You have to listen to your own gut, and when something is wrong, get somebody to listen to you.
Ashley is now rebuilding her life, but wanted to share her story to help others. Jamie Coulson, BBC Look North.
Well, sadly, Ashley's story isn't uncommon. Last month, the birth trauma inquiry was published by an all-party parliamentary group. It called for an overhaul of the UK's maternity and postnatal care after finding poor care is all too frequently tolerated as normal. The Birth Trauma Association were a leading organisation advising that inquiry, and earlier I spoke to Kim Thomas and asked her how typical is Ashley's experience.
It's really typical, and unfortunately we hear a lot of stories, and the recent birth trauma inquiry heard a lot of stories from women who'd had injuries at birth that took years and years to get diagnosed. It was really quite shocking because in most cases, third and fourth degree tears, which are the most severe kind of tears, can be diagnosed immediately after birth, but in many cases they're not. A buttonhole tear, such as Ashley had, is a bit rarer and a bit harder to diagnose.
What advice would you give to a woman who's particularly heard Ashley's story tonight and thinks they're going through something similar?
The best thing to do is to go to your GP. And in a way, I hesitate to say this, of course, because a lot of women go to their GP and then get fobbed off and told there's nothing wrong, which is incredibly frustrating. So I think really the only thing to do is just be very, very persistent about it. There's also a very good charity called Masic, which supports women with third and fourth degree tears.
What improvements do we need to see to stop cases like this happening in the future?
There's something called the OASI Care Bundle. Now, OASI stands for obstetric anal sphincter injury, and we know that in countries where an OASI Care Bundle has been rolled out, they've been able to dramatically reduce the amount of severe tearing after birth. And there are sort of fairly simple elements to the bundle, such as supporting the woman's perineum as the baby's born and holding the baby's head as well, and also kind of checking immediately after the birth to assess whether there's a tear. What we'd love to see and what recommended in the report is that this care bundle is rolled out throughout the country.
Yeah, and early diagnosis is key. Kim, thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you very much.
Next tonight, relatives of people living in a care home in North Derbyshire have begun a campaign to prevent it closing. The Grange in Eckington is one of a number of facilities run by Derbyshire County Council which could shut, along with others in Clay Cross, Chesterfield and Bolsover. A consultation is underway now on how and what elderly care is going to be provided in the future. Tom Ingle has more.
Such a shame, because if that physio...
It's a fight they didn't want or pick. Nonetheless, sisters Janet and Diane and their new friend Alison are committed to it.
It came to last year, her mobility was getting a lot less and it wasn't safe for her to stay in her own home any longer, and the Grange is where she chose to go.
Janet and Diane's mum, Mary Rose, is 89 and needs full-time care. Alison's mum, also called Mary, needs support with her mental health. Both live at a Derbyshire County Council-run care home called The Grange in Eckington on the south side of Sheffield.
It's just like a little community home where they've chosen to live together, and they have, they're really, really well looked after.
But now it could close, along with 10 other care homes and 8 daycare centres spread right across Derbyshire.
She's been there since her last home with Derbyshire County Council was closed in 2022 July. So yeah, it's been really, really difficult, especially with it being the second time round, because we know the emotions of my mum losing friends.
When the consultation on the plans was announced, there were protests from opposition councillors and union members. Derbyshire County Council told us any decision about the future of our care homes would be made only after the consultation has concluded. With a growing number of people in Derbyshire living with dementia, we need to focus our resources on having the right options to support them and their carers, which would give us the resources needed to meet demand.
I get that Derbyshire County Council want to work with dementia, but I do feel that they really do also have a duty of care for mental health and disability as well.
Where are they going to go? The homes that we've looked at, out of 10 homes that we've contacted just yesterday and this morning, there are 4 available beds.
The consultation is due to run until August. Janet, Diane and Alison are frustrated, therefore, by the timing of the general election, because it means there are no MPs. They feel it's holding back their campaign to pressure the council into thinking again. Tom Ingle, BBC Look North, North Derbyshire.
Well, care homes and social care is an issue affecting many of us, but what do the political parties have to say on it? Well, our political reporter Gemma Dillon joins us now. This is a big topic, isn't it, Gemma?
It certainly is, yeah. Over a decade now, how to fund social care has been a really thorny issue. Demand for social care, as we know, is growing as people are living longer, but that means it's going to cost more money. Council budgets, again, we know we've spoken about it many times, are stretched. In 2016, the government allowed councils to charge just under 2% extra on council tax bills to specifically cover social care. But money's still tight. Now, all the main parties are saying that they're going to tackle the problem. So what are they saying exactly? The Conservatives say they've given over £8 billion to the sector, with more plans to come. Labour say they're going to focus on recruitment and retention of carers. The Greens want social care to be funded like the NHS is funded, and the Liberal Democrats want to introduce free personal care. Reform also say they want a national plan with extra funding. For all the parties, it's going to cost more money. The big question is, where's that going to come from? We will be picking up on this next week.
Yes, absolutely. We will have to wait and see. Thank you, Gemma. Well, staying with politics and with the election less than 4 weeks away, there is pressure on political parties to select candidates and get the selection right. The deadline for selection was a couple of hours ago, and parties have had just 2 weeks to choose who stands for them in all of our constituencies. Recent history has shown us that they don't always get it right. Our political editor, James Vincent, reports.
The government should call a general election.
The last time there was a real snap election was 2017, and that meant candidates were selected fast and often without too much vetting. One of the big stories, of course, was Jared O'Meara. He beat Nick Clegg, but the local party felt they'd had no say in him being a candidate. He had very little political experience. Jared O'Meara is currently in prison for fraud.
We will have a general election on the 4th of July.
So this time, with just 2 weeks to pick candidates, are they getting it right?
Of course, there are candidates that have been in the constituency for quite a while. They might have been the MP for a few years, or for parties that have got target seats, they tend to select candidates a couple of years out so they can get to know the community and the community can get to know them. But for some seats, it's a bit of a scramble to try and make sure there's somebody on that nomination form.
There's no central body that goes and vets all these people who could be our MPs, who are going to take on positions of huge responsibility. And we've seen where parties get it wrong, it can have huge consequences for the individual concerned, but also for their thousands of constituents.
We asked the parties whether they'd tell us what they were doing to make sure candidates were the right people for the right job. Only the Lib Dems got back to us. They say their process of approval is clear and transparent. With at least 7 of our former MPs standing down this time, whatever happens and whoever wins, we will have a lot of new MPs.
There could be dozens of candidates who don't expect to get elected and suddenly find themselves on that sort of morning of July the 5th, waking up and thinking, I'm going to be sitting on those green benches as an MP and I don't feel ready for it.
They'll need support, but the parties will also be under scrutiny to see if they've picked good enough candidates to represent people here. James Vincent, BBC Look North.
Well, Gemma is still with us now. Gemma, do we know who's standing?
Sort of. Nominations closed a couple of hours ago. In the 49 constituencies in our part of the world, the Conservatives, Labour, Liberal Democrats and Green Party are fielding candidates in all of those seats. Reform had said they were going to stand in all 49 seats. I'm yet to receive confirmation of that. And the Yorkshire Party are fielding 26 candidates. They had a bit of drama. Some of their nomination papers only made it in with a minute to spare in Wakefield. But if you do want to check out who's standing where you live, the BBC's got a website. You just tap your postcode into it and then you can have a look at who your options are.
Simple. And there's another political issue, isn't there, in the news today?
There certainly is. The Prime Minister has had to apologise this morning after leaving the D-Day commemorations early. Now, Rishi Sunak has, of course, represented Richmond in North Yorkshire since 2015, and the constituency is home to Catterick Garrison, one of the country's largest army bases. Now, yesterday was a hugely significant day. World leaders were in France to honour the 80th anniversary. Rishi Sunak was there with other world leaders, paying respects. And then he wasn't. He left earlier, leaving the Foreign Secretary, Lord Cameron, to stand beside the other heads of state. Now, as it turns out, he'd left early to record a TV interview, and this morning, in an unprecedented move, he had to tweet an apology. It said, "I care deeply about veterans and have been honoured to represent the UK at a number of events in Portsmouth and France over the past 2 days. After the conclusion of the British event in Normandy, I returned back to the UK. On reflection, it was a mistake and I apologise." As I say, Amanda, that is highly unusual. And of course, with the first of the BBC TV debates tonight, with representatives of 7 parties taking place in less than an hour's time, I dare say it won't be the last we've heard of it.
No, we will be watching, Gemma. Thank you very much. Now, in other news, a court has heard how a house in Barnsley was rigged with explosives that could be triggered by tripwires. Hundreds of people were told to leave their homes on Brierley Road in Grimethorpe last month as the bomb squad searched the house. 58-year-old Ian Clawton and 57-year-old Leslie Clawton, both at Brierley Road, are charged with drugs and firearms offences. They entered no pleas and will go on trial next year. Taxi firm Uber could return to York after a 6-year ban. The company had its licence renewal refused by City of York Council in 2017 following complaints from local taxi drivers. Uber drivers from other areas have been allowed to operate legally in the city despite the ban, but the firm has submitted a fresh licence application which will be discussed next week. Now, are you afraid of things that go bump in the night? Do you believe in ghosts? Or maybe you could have seen a UFO. Well, if you're into all things paranormal, you've probably also heard of Danny Robbins. Best known for his hit documentary and podcast series Uncanny, which explores people's unexplained experiences. He's currently on tour and is in Bradford this week. Earlier, I asked him what we could expect.
Well, some people will be familiar with Uncanny from my TV series or from the podcast, and it's about real people's ghost stories, basically. And so we are telling those stories live in the flesh. I'm bringing 2 cases to life, 2 cases that have never featured on the pod or on TV, so new to this tour. And I guess, like, normally podcast live shows are people sitting around recording a podcast. This is not that. This is something much more theatrical. If you've seen The Woman in Black, or if you've seen my play 222, A Ghost Story, you'll know how exciting it can be to be scared in the theatre. We're using lights and sound and video projections and flying props and illusions to bring these stories to life, debating them with our experts on stage, but crucially throwing it open to the audience as well. So if you come, you can ask us questions and theories and also tell us your ghost stories as well.
And how are you finding the audience here in Yorkshire? Or should I ask, how are they finding you? Are people staying to the very end, or are you giving them the heebie-jeebies and they're legging it out?
Nobody has left in terror yet, thankfully. We played Sheffield the other day, which was great. What I love is that everywhere we go, we ask for local ghost stories, you know, and we investigate those. So we had some great ones the other day. We were talking about Sheffield Town Hall, where there was apparently a poltergeist throwing tea and coffee and sugar around. Sheffield Central Library as well apparently has a disembodied hand that grabbed a woman's skirt in a very unsettling way. So lots of strange hauntings there. But when we come to Bradford on Saturday, we'll be asking for stories again. And so anyone who's got a story that they want to tell, that they want to get off their chest, they can come down and tell it.
And very briefly, you do speak to the sceptics as well, too, don't you? Sometimes there is a rational explanation for these things, like a dodgy light fitting or a leaky tap.
Absolutely, yeah. And we always have a skeptic expert and a believer expert. I think the whole nature of Uncanny is different to the kind of average traditional paranormal show, which is very much about preaching to the converted. I think our audience is divided very much between believers and skeptics and all those people like myself in the middle who don't know what we think and aren't sure yet.
Yes, and we mustn't have nightmares. Thank you very much, Danny. Lovely to talk to you.
Thank you.
Yes, we are big fans of Daddy in our house. Now sports, and this time tomorrow at Wembley, Leeds Rhinos women will be in action in the Rugby League Challenge Cup final. They're taking on St Helens in the final for the third successive year. But before setting off from Headingley this morning, the players paid tribute to Rhinos legend Rob Burrow, who died earlier this week. Paul Ogden reports.
First thing this morning, the Leeds Rhinos women were deep in thought, and not just about their journey to Wembley ahead of tomorrow's Challenge Cup final. No player was prepared to walk across that car park without making their own gesture of respect and remembrance amongst the other hundreds of wreaths and mementos for the late Rob Burrow. The important snapshot of collective Rhino strength can only help the team and maybe the grieving process over the death of the former Leeds and England star Rob Burrow from motor neurone disease.
It's been really hard, especially seeing Rob going through his struggles and to find out what happened this week. It's been tough, but I think it's for us girls, it's going to spur us on tomorrow. It's just in the back of our mind that we're going out there, not only for us and the club, but we've got Rob as well, who to make proud as well.
Before making their way to Wembley today, a breakfast of champions to prepare for the Challenge Cup final against St Helens. If the players tackle St Helens like they did those scrambled eggs, beans and bacon this morning, Leeds Rhinos will bring that trophy back to Yorkshire at last.
I like routine, and I like to have the same routine going into it, especially into a really important game. So I've had pancakes, eggs and honey this morning. That's something that I really find myself having most likely these days. We're all buzzing to just get down to London and start that process of winning that game tomorrow. So it all starts now and it all comes to this point, you know, who can compete tomorrow and we're wanting to win. So yes, we're ready for it.
Rob's been a massive advocate for the women's game. We had the privilege of getting our shirts presented by him and his wife Lindsay at the World Cup, and he spoke so passionately about the women's game, and we're seeing it as a real positive in terms of this is a real motivating factor. We want to do this for Rob and sort of like honour his memory as another successful team in which that he also played in successful teams.
On the Wembley pitch tomorrow, Leeds Rhinos women will warm up for their 11:45 kick-off wearing Rob Burrow dedicated number 7 tops, before they try and reverse last season's Wembley defeat to the same St Helens opponent. The whole of tomorrow lunchtime's Women's Rugby League Challenge Cup final, remember, is live on BBC Two, where coverage starts at 11:15 in the morning. Paul Ogden, BBC Look North, Headingley.
There they go, and also good luck to Sheffield Eagles and Wakefield Trinity, who face each other in the 1895 Cup final tomorrow at Wembley. Now, we've just seen the Leeds Rhinos ladies paying tribute to Rob Burrow, and tonight and over the weekend it's the turn of runners to remember him. There's a run at Roundhay Park starting at 7 o'clock tonight, and park runs taking place in his honour tomorrow. Finally, a Lego fan from West Yorkshire has just got back from an out-of-this-world adventure. 10-year-old Lottie was among just 6 winners from across the globe in a competition to design a unique spaceship in Lego. She got the chance to see her design lit up by drones in the Big Apple, no less. Corrie Wheatley went to meet her.
Mysterious lights over the New York skyline. Not from outer space, but definitely inspired by it. In fact, one of these designs came from somewhere much closer to home, a dining room table in Kippax, West Yorkshire.
You had to break them once to rebuild, but what you've got on the table?
You had to make a Lego creation, how you would want to go to space, and you had to enter and tell it why you would want to go in your creation. My design was a bed with butterfly wings and fire coming out of the back, and then a snack drawer underneath it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Drones are launching.
Lego Mad Lottie won a trip to see her design lit up by drones, helping her dreams of space travel come alive.
There's loads of planets that no one's been to, and I would want to go discover some of the planets and see if there's life in any of them. Not a lot of girls or things, and not have gone to space or been anywhere on the moon, and then it's always boys who go. Then
You're doing it for the girls, aren't you?
yeah. So it has build, then you can rebuild.
Lottie's always been quite interested in Lego. She's happy just sitting in the living room or the dining room, just making different creations out here. As when she's drawn it on a piece of paper and it's come from the paper to a real life thing, floating in the sky, it was just amazing. It was, like you say, there was no words. It was just, you'd have to just stand in awe and look at it. She just strives to do whatever she wants. But yeah, it's just nice to see that she does want to go and push, don't you? Follow your dreams. Definitely.
Oh, congratulations, Lottie. What an amazing achievement. Now, we're on to the weather prospects, Keely, and my hand was like this on the heating today. It's flipping cold, isn't it?
And the sunshine doesn't feel too bad, but yeah, there's a real chill in the air, and I'm afraid those temperatures aren't improving anytime soon. It wasn't too bad a day, though, was it? We did see some sunshine. The cloud broke up for us through the course of the afternoon, but we'll see a bit more of that sunshine, I think, as we head through the day tomorrow. The second picture, there you go, also shows that it was quite breezy. You can see the flags fluttering around there, and that's not helping the chill in the air either, and that's something that we're going to have through the weekend too. So temperature on the cool side and quite breezy conditions as well. You can get your pictures coming in to a variety of places, to the Weather Watchers page. We're on social media as well, Keely.Donovan on Instagram. So as well as it being cool and breezy, which I've said several times now, there'll also be some sunshine around tomorrow, particularly through tomorrow afternoon. There'll also be a few showers in the forecast, more especially in the morning, but not everybody catching those showers. And then on Sunday, Saturday looks like the better of the 2 days, because Sunday a lot more cloud around. I think it'll be very overcast, a bit damp in places, and then some rain to start the working week on Monday. Sunshine and showers for Monday and Tuesday, and some of those could be heavy and thundery. So thicker cloud in the morning gave way to more broken cloud this afternoon, but thicker cloud to the north is now starting to spread southwards, and with it some showery rain through this evening and at times overnight, and it will stay fairly cloudy for most of the night before some breaks develop later on. Temperatures overnight dropping back to around 9 or 10 degrees. So let's have a quick look at those high water times at 6:18 in Bridlington and at 5:47 in Whitby. So through tomorrow morning, broken cloud, sunny spells, and there will be a few showers out there. And then those showers becoming a bit more hit and miss, tending to ease through the afternoon, and that cloud tends to melt away as well. So an improvement, not a bad morning, but an improvement through the day with increasing amounts of sunshine. If you're out of the breeze, the sunshine will feel pleasant, but the air is still quite cool. 15 or 16 degrees is below average for the time of year. There shouldn't be very many showers, if any, about by tomorrow evening, so a pleasant evening with some sunshine, and then cool and fine overnight into Sunday. Unfortunately, it then clouds over for Sunday itself. A little bit of drizzle out there, very disappointing temperatures into the early part of next week with showers, Amanda.
Oh, Keely, thank you very much. That's it from us. Do have a lovely weekend despite the weather. We'll be back with your late news and weather just after 10 o'clock. Goodbye.